Welcome to the Get Real About Vapes and Get Real About Vape webinar presented to you by the Louisiana youth from the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living. My name is Michelle Oza. I am the Social and Health Disparities Senior Coordinator for the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living, which is a program of the Louisiana Public Health Institute and Louisiana Cancer Research Center. Again, welcome to today's webinar. Again, today's webinar is presented to you by the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living's Youth Advisory Board. The overall goal for today is to reduce the amount of vape. The overall goal of the Youth Advisory Board and for this webinar is to reduce the amount of vaping among youth in Louisiana. The purpose of Get Real About Vaping is to advise program development around the overall goal to reduce the amount of vaping among youth in Louisiana. Now we all have our introductions of the Youth Advisory Board of the members that are on the call. I'll let each one of them that are present today to introduce themselves by stating their name, their area in the state that they are, and why they wanted to join the YET. Let's see, Maurice, would you like to go first?
That's hello, I'm Maurice Davis. I'm Region 8 of Youth Advisory Board. And to me, I want to initially join this because at the time it was definitely a new experience and it was something that I wanted to test myself and being able to see and trying to find different solutions, find different talking points as well. Just putting my best hand and knowledge towards what the group stands for and aiding in any way that I could.
Thank you, Maurice. All right, Kennedy.
Hello, my name is Kennedy Hall, and I am in Region 8 of Washita Parish, Monroe, Louisiana. And I had chosen to join YB to be around like-minded individuals who strive to make generational change, to positively impact my community, and educate my peers about the importance of good health.
All right, and Layla.
Hi, my name is Layla Octave. I'm a part of the Advisory Board and I'm part of Region 3. I joined this because I want to make a difference in the way vaping is portrayed and to get it to stop. And this program really helps me voice my opinion and be a part of a movement that can encourage younger kids as us and myself to not be influenced what other kids are doing.
All right, thank you, Layla and Adriana.
My name's Adriana Lee, and I live in Region 1. And I joined the Youth Advisory Board so I could make an impact in my community and to learn leadership skills.
All right, and Michaela.
Hi, my name's Michaela. I'm in Region 7, which is Shreveport, Louisiana. And I decided to be a part of the Youth Advisory Board for personal reasons because my grandfather smoked, which led to his death from cancer, but also because surrounding me, my peers often use tobacco and use vaping products, and I wanted to have a voice to speak out against that.
All right, thank you. We had 13 Youth Advisory Board members here this fiscal year or this year from 2025 to 2026. They started in October and this is actually their last meeting. So thank you all for joining us in their presentation of what they have learned and the information they want to share with us. So let's get started. Our MCs for today are Adriana Lee and Kennedy Hall. And now I will turn it over to Adriana to get us started.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adriana again. And yeah, so in this webinar, uh, we'll be looking at what everybody in YAB as a collective did over the past couple of months. So, Youth Advisory Board is a group of youth leaders from all over Louisiana who represent at least one region of the state's public health regions. I'm in Region 1. YAB members serve as the youth voice for the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living, and we all work together over the past couple of months, providing insight with each other and feedback and recommendations related to vaping and tobacco use. And through this role, we all helped guide TFL's programs, campaigns, and strategies to make sure they're relevant and effective towards the youth.
Thank you, Adriana. All right, so we have our first poll question that we would like to ask you all in the audience. Give you all about a minute or so to answer. All right. For most part, like everybody just saying a vape, not too many slang terms per se, but thanks for your responses. All right, we have about 10 more seconds. Give you a chance to answer. All right. All right, and now we will hear from Layla Octave, who's going to give us a vape education.
Hi, my name is Lila Octave again, and I'll be presenting slides that I've made talking about what we all think vape education and what parents should know about it. The importance of vape education. Vape education at a young age rather than teens can improve the numbers of kids vaping to decline in numbers. Well, I'm trying to move this thing so I can see what I'm doing. Give me a second. Okay, thank you. Making sure kids have resources to be aware of the harm of vaping, even if they're not actively vaping. I feel like this should go more into kids that's not vaping at a younger age than teens, can improve the numbers of vapes declining because a lot of kids go to teens and not have the resources, or they hear it only when they're teens, and that's usually the primary age that vaping does occur. Teaching the risks and the health and all the things that vaping causes throughout the years at a younger age would make it more normalized to not do it instead of when they're already in the primary age of doing it to teach them. And it's more effective to learn it at a younger age than teens because most likely teens, they're doing what their friends do. But if they know that at a younger age to not do it in general, it would make more of a improvement. The importance of parents being aware of their child's social life and social media. It all plays into vaping, even no matter what you look at it. If your kid is seeing a lot of things that they're not supposed to be seeing or are not aware of and think that it's good because they're being influenced by social media and social life and the people that your kids hang around, it's bad. And I don't think a lot of parents take that into consideration. At least some of them. I know mines do, and a lot of parents do because they have those resources. But parents need to be more aware of what their kid is doing and what the kid is seeing. No matter if they're a teenager and they want to, of course, you want to get your child prepared for the real world. But the real world is this. They need to be aware of things. And as a parent, parents should take more of the initiative to be more aware and in their child's life as far as knowing people that they hang around because it makes education better. Okay, can you please move to the next slide? And I'm going more into deep about the parents and what their child is doing. Having too much freedom for a child can lead to them to make bad health decisions at an early age that affects them in the future. Vaping does not only affect that present moment. It's a long-term thing. It messes with your lungs. A lot of jobs don't even accept people with vaping. You don't want to limit yourself to your true potential or things that make you happy in life, especially in this economy when it could be fixed here and now. Parents knowing what the child's doing is very important because a lot of kids look up to their parents. So when your parents are so hard on you, it drives you to be better. A lot of kids, even though your kids are gonna grow up to be their own person and experience their own things in life, to have that backbone of I know right from wrong and my parents care is very important. And for parents to instill that is also very important. Parents should create safe environments and having serious conversations to protect their children from deciding to try any vapes. Having a conversation goes a long way, especially showing that you care. Because if you care, they're most likely going to care. Sometimes you have to even step out of your comfort zone as a parent and get other people's help. Like parenting should not just be, oh, I need to tell you something and that's it. If you have to step out for your child personally and go out your way to get other people's help, is also a good thing. It's whatever's in the child's best interest, so they do not mess themselves over in the future. Just you want all the options you can get, and vaping stops that. And you don't want your child to do anything inappropriate or societally like dismantle themselves because of vaping, because it is a very big part, especially in teens' lives. And if we can stop it before then, that's of course the measure that we would like to take. Okay. I think that's the end of my slides, guys. Thank y'all for listening. And enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Layla. So right before we get into the data, we'll have Adriana come back, but I'm going to present another poll for us to um, do.
And hi, Jerry. Um, there was wait, no, I'm so sorry. It's Jenny. There's a question that she had pulled up, I'm guessing. Um,
Mm-hmm,
can we answer those questions like after the whole slide? Cause
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
we'll
just didn't
we'll
want to
do a
stop everything. Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to let you know I seen your question.
Mhm. All right, and so here's our next poll. Give you all another minute. Asking basically asking the audience, how are you getting vapes, or how does one get vapes? Like, are you getting it at stores? Are you buying it online? Is there, I don't know, a texting app? Like, how are people buying vapes? Because as we know, you're supposed to be 21 and older to be able to purchase them, but we understand that the youth are getting them. So it's like, how are you all getting your vapes? Regardless if you're an adult or a youth. We just want to know, like, how are people getting their vapes? All right, we have about 10 seconds. And then I'll show the results just of what people are saying so far. All right, let's see. All right. So now we'll give it back to Adriana to give us a little deep dive inside of the data.
Okay, so our survey was developed to ask questions about tobacco use, perceptions, access, and influence, and we randomly selected from schools and randomly selected from those schools as classrooms, and 49% of schools sampled agreed to participate, and 72% of students sampled agreed to participate.
And before I go to the next slide, I just want to put in there that this is the Louisiana Youth Tobacco Survey that is conducted by the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living, also in partnership with the Louisiana Department of Health. Want to put that segue in there.
And these are the middle school responses. So in the last 3 years, vaping remains the most common product for middle schoolers, but use has dropped over time. So in 2021, it was 10%. In 2023, it grew to 18, and in 2025, it went down to 10% again. And that seems to be the general trend in all tobacco products. So almost 1 in 3 middle schoolers have indicated that they have tried any tobacco product. 1 in 4 said they have tried vaping, and 1 in 5 said that when they did vape, they did so with flavored products. And 12% of middle schoolers currently use tobacco products, with most of them using vapes, and 4% of middle schoolers indicated dual use of vapes and one other tobacco product. So this is the tobacco product use of those living with middle schoolers, with 20% of middle schoolers saying that, or 20%, yeah, 20% of middle schoolers saying that someone that they live with has vaped or smoked a cigarette, with 6% with chewing tobacco, 4% with roll your own tobacco, and cigars and some other product, and 3% with hookah products.
Thank you, Adriana. Now we'll have Kennedy Hall to do the high school responses for us.
Hello, I'm Kennedy Hall, and I'll be doing the high school responses. Most high schoolers understand vaping harms, but only half see it as a tobacco product. Over 8 of the 10 high schoolers believe that vaping is harmful for their health. 2 in 3 high schoolers believe that vaping is as harmful or more harmful than cigarette smoking. 1 in 2 high schoolers do not consider vapes to be an actual tobacco product. Curiosity and stress drive the first use. 1 in 4 high schoolers' first tobacco product use was with vapes. The two most common reasons that high schoolers tried vaping were of curiosity and the feeling of being anxious, stressed, or depressed. 1 in 4 high schoolers selected curiosity as the reason they tried vaping for the first time. 1 in 10 high schoolers selected feeling anxious, stressed, or depressed as the reason they tried vaping. And 1 in 3 high schoolers believe that it would be easy to get tobacco products if they wanted to. Gas stations and convenience stores are the biggest source of tobacco ads. Places where high schoolers see tobacco ads most of the time or always. Gas station and convenience stores are the highest, ranking with 41%. The internet ranking 12%, while watching TV or streaming at 10%, and newspapers and magazines at 5%. And in summary, vaping use dropped significantly among high schoolers since 2023, but remains the most common tobacco product across both grade levels. Most students know vaping is harmful, but do not consider it a tobacco product. This gap affects how prevention and messaging lands. First use is happening in middle school, often driven by curiosity and the people at home who use tobacco products. For high schoolers, stress and anxiety are emerging as reasons for trying vaping, pointing to a mental health connection that prevention programs may want to address.
Thank you, Kennedy. I meant to do our third poll, but I'll do that right now before we get into our next section. All right, so our third poll is, where do you normally see someone using vapes? And I give you all a minute to respond. I know based on the Yab, I know some of y'all had told me that's the bathrooms, could be the gym outside, but just curious of where people are seeing people vape. Thank you all for your responses. Give it about another 20 seconds. All right, another 10 seconds. All right, let's see what people are saying. All right, thank you all for participating. All right, now we will have Maurice come on, and he has a question for you all.
Everyone, Maurice, I'm Maurice Davis, and I'm here to announce the different questions that we have for the audience here. Number one, how would you address or respond to youth vaping situations on a case by case basis, or how do you confront personal vaping problems with use on a case by case basis?
And if you, the audience, can put your comment to the question in the chat, that would be great. Or if you really want to speak, you raise your hand. I could make you unmute, but that's the question. I will say that speaking with a few different people in different areas of the state when they are addressing vapes by different cases, some of them say they try to help those students or the youth to figure out what's going on with them. Some of them, for the most part, I know if it's schools, they usually have some harsh punishments, but some of them give them warnings. So I guess it depends on the school, that adult, and then also what type of vape it is, because we all know vapes can be different kinds and have different things in them. So it's definitely a case by case, and what you do with one student might be different from what you do with the other. So it's always kind of a mixed review. In the chat, we have share information on how it negatively affects their physical and mental health and offer resources to help them quit. Thank you. I think that's a good point as well, to try to more figure out what's going on versus being more punitive if we can. But I know that's not always the easiest route. Jenny said, I'm sorry. In the chat, it says, would love to hear how the was suggested be addressed, confronted. So with that, please still put your comments in the chat, and then we'll have the floor open to the Q&A. So Layla, the first question was to you. Any thoughts from the YAB on specifically what the younger age to start educating, maybe from the parent level, school level program like TFL level
Okay, hi.
or any
And I
of
would
them?
love to answer this question. So, from a parent level, the average child starts understanding right from wrong at the age of 7. I feel like as a parent, that should be taught like around that age. On a school level, I would say 10, because for a school level, it would be more mature, and it would probably be more of a like a meeting sit down lesson, like in front of like that whole class, or like, yeah, the whole class of students. So for a school to take charge of that, probably 10, because that's before middle school, and it will still be effective. And program like TFL level. Um, TFL, what is that? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's the Louisiana Campaign for
Okay.
Tobacco-Free Living. It's TFL for short. Yeah.
For us to go out and reach kids, I would say also 10, 11, because that's more the age where they start to see things and they start to find out like who they want to be. Middle school, you're also finding that out, but you're more influenced. Except 10, yeah, I feel like 10 would still be a very good age because it's not too young, like 7, you're still taking baby steps. That's why I feel like it's more for the parents to say because they're not going to really get in depth. You would just be more exposed to it and knowing not to do it. But for a school level, and us, 10 would be a good age. Because it's before you get to middle school and you start getting influenced by other people. And if the other people are not also influenced because they now have this information, it makes a difference to stop it before it begins. Hopefully that answers your question good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else wants to chime in on that question? Anybody has a response? Go ahead, Michaela. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think as early as possible, honestly. I think when they're like toddlers, it would be good just because like I work with a lot of children. And I see how kids like can understand things and they do certain things in response to what they've seen. So if it's ingrained in them from a very early age, they'll become accustomed to, oh, tobacco and vaping and smoking. That's wrong. And I shouldn't do that because I've seen and I've heard about the effects. Even if they don't really even know what it is, there'll just be that association automatically within like their heads.
Yeah, and I would just chime in. I feel like if a toddler can work a tablet or them cell phones, they definitely know how to work a vape. Um, Adding to the discussion, we have, I love how you set that up, Layla. 7 years with parents, 10 at school, 10 to 11 at program level. Really great how you notice perspective of a young kid seeing or being influenced. Thank you. All right. Anybody else have a comment on that question?
Like say like the main point, and this would be like trying to allow the kids to like be able to rationalize the idea of, vaping is bad or nicotine use is just bad overall before they, get into middle or high school where there may be certain influences that may try to like intentionally or unintentionally end up trying to convince them otherwise. And the earlier that they're educated or at least exposed to these ideas, the easier it makes the easier it becomes to rationalize this idea over time. And the more you rationalize something, the harder it is for you to think otherwise. Uh,
I
Okay.
would I
Thank you.
would like to add on something to our
Yep.
discussion. Um with starting at the young age, I also feel like that we should celebrate good habits. So for elementary school, having maybe a sock hop, um, like celebrating good habits and doing good behavior. So not only we are instilling not to do it, but we're also instilling to celebrate being this way and to be a good person.
Okay. So some of the comments we have is thank you for giving different perspective on what age to start addressing vaping with youth. Great call, Michaela. 90% of a child's brain is developed by 5. Starting early sets the tone early, which is very true. Very, very true. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so going back to our other question we have, would love to hear how the yeah was suggested be addressed, confronted. I believe that's when we were talking about with the data of like confronting the youth on vaping. I think we kind of reached on that and just talking about going with the age and really trying to change it from a different perspective of starting younger and it's just our ways of like how do we address it and like the ways to address vaping. All right, any more questions? Oh, it was about confronting vaping happening in front of you. So I should have added more context in the question. Would anybody like to answer that? Confronting vaping that's happening in front of you? How are y'all trying to confront that? What is your ways for doing it? Or ways you would like to do it? Anyone can answer. I'll let y'all think about it. Go ahead, Michaela.
Yeah, I'd probably just start with a conversation because I think if I personally was to like get mad or get loud or anybody, then the conversation wouldn't really be, they wouldn't stop because they just get mad and then it's harder to communicate. And so I'd probably just approach it with a conversation and try to, I don't know, I'll probably start saying some statistics about what happens when you vape or use tobacco or something like that.
Okay, thank you. Kennedy?
I actually had this issue well, about a month ago. I actually went about it in a meeting, and I asked what to do. And Yap really helped me with that. So basically, just having a simple conversation and like saying, "Oh, I'm here for you." You know, somebody sees you, and that not necessarily what you're doing is wrong, but there's somebody here to listen. Um, and yes, I told them about how it does affect your health, but not only that, but there's somebody that I could confide in. And now I actually am friends with them, and they do talk a lot about different issues and stuff. And but I'm glad to be there for them.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad that that really worked out. I'm really happy to hear that. Layla.
Okay, yeah, I agree with Michaela. I think that's your name. I'm so sorry if I messed it up. Yeah, I would do the same thing. I would go into it with a conversation, but I feel like depending on the age, the conversation would of course go differently. Like the way I would talk to a middle schooler from my age point of view, because I'm no longer in middle school, would be more of a older kid talking to a young kid trying to change a decision, m- versus if I seen a kid my age, because of course I'm always gonna try to help to influence a better way. So a kid my age, it would be more of talking to him as a friend, as in wanting the best for them. So it would still be like you would just have to go differently depending on the age to reach out more of a listening instead of like talking to them again aggressive and mean because that's most likely not going to go anywhere, especially if they're vaping for a depressive situation or something so they don't feel attacked. Because you don't want them to feel unhuman for doing what they're doing. You just want them to feel like they're heard in other ways. And I feel like approaching it that to that age limit or however you feel is best for that person would of course always be the best outcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so in the chat, we have a comment that says, Yab Insight gives parents on how to talk to youth about vaping at different ages, of course, incorporating different approaches based on age. We have another comment. It says, it's really good to hear y'all as older students and Yab members realizing the need to provide role models, especially for the younger kids. And although we talk about needing to start educating parents and kids at very early age, I had no idea it was this young, very, very actionable information. We have a thank you, Kennedy. Then we have, this is really a dumb question, probably, but here it goes. Does shaming work at all? Like posting someone vaping, for example. What do y'all think?
Could I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So first off, there aren't that's a really good question. It's not a dumb question at all. But regarding shaming, while it may be effective, it won't be effective in the long run because it will just build resentment between the child and the adult over time. So no, shaming is not a very effective way to stop vaping over time.
Thank you, Adriana.
Can I?
Next to Michaela.
Yeah, I agree with Adriana. I don't think shaming would work. I think it would yeah breed resentment, cause anger, and in that moment and just embarrassment. So maybe rather than doing it in public, it would be more in private, which causes more secrets and strains relationships. So I don't think it would work really at all. It would just worsen tensions and maybe lead to an increase in the habit.
All right, Layla.
I don't think embarrassment is or shaming is the right way to go about a situation with vaping. Vaping causes a lot of emotion, like especially like how it is now, and putting that on display for a lot of other people to see is gonna cause more than vaping to be the issue. Like a lot of kids, like social media is a very big thing. It's not like it's gonna stay there and eventually it's gonna die down, but it's always gonna be there. And shaming as in posting something and that affects, like you can always post stuff like that up. If that affects their job, yeah, they might stop vaping, but it affects things in the long run too. So shaming wouldn't be a very good way to go at it at all.
All right, go ahead for Maurice.
Uh, in order to like just agreeing with the statement here, shaming theoretically, I do believe that it might work, but it's also not very sustainable. It's kind of like the like the like a joke about like burning down the entire house just to get rid of like a couple of pests.
Hmm.
Yes, it kind of like it would lead to add like a byproducts. It also would greatly depend on the person as well. Well, because we're not trying to convince them of anything. We're not trying to talk. We're not trying to actually try to just instill the idea of, why what they're doing is wrong. Right? And instead just trying to focus on ridicule and like just things that could be considered as basically just noise, and it's just unmeaningful. Like it's very
Hmm.
unmeaningful communication. It's saying that it might work, but it's just not consistent and it's not ethical. And mm, yeah, basically those are the two biggest reasons why shaming just is not the best approach to this.
I agree, and I understand where you're coming from too, because it's also kind of one of those things where it's when it's on social media, it's like a trend, it's quote unquote like a joke, or it can be perceived like one, but it doesn't always last as a joke today, and then in the next 20 minutes, something else is trending, something else comes up, something else is going on, and whoever's doing it or whoever's feel sympathy for it or whatever the case may be, it may not resonate to them the same way. Go ahead, Layla.
No, I had seen a different question. It says, do you
Uh,
all think youth can identify their why they are vaping? I feel like most youth can. Like, you know why you choose to do things. Like, it can be parents, it can be um like influence of like youth, it could be what you see. Do I think some no, but it's more of they can identify it just if they want to. Because a lot of things like that is hard to accept of, and a lot of people don't like to hear, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this because so and so is doing it." That's not a good thing to hear at a young age because you feel like you're your own person. But to be honest, everybody falls under the influence of something, even if it's good or bad. So do I feel like youth can identify why they're vaping? Yes, I do feel like they can. Now, if they're gonna assess it and go about it in a responsible way and know what they need to work on, depends on the youth. Because some minds are stronger than others.
Agreed. Maurice?
I'll say, can I identify the why? I'd say it depends greatly on the youth. Like the older we're talking about, the more likely that they can give a concrete like reasoning towards, why are they doing what they're doing. Although I'd say it would be possible for like younger, it would take a lot more, it takes a lot more effort to kind of get there. Especially like if you look at the statistics, how, mental health is kind of starts emerging as like high schoolers, like in terms of high schooler statistics, getting to something that can be like easily discussed, easily analyzed, and like easily approachable, that progresses as that's like the average youth ages up. That's like the higher like overall level.
All right, and Kennedy.
By answering the question, yes. Most spirits I've confided in, they do know their why, and it's actually leaning towards a bit differently. For example, in my area, it's not leaning towards just because it's cool. It's leaning towards of personal reasons. So something an issue at home or dealing with the stress of like school. Academics have become very rigorous and the standards are getting higher. So, like I said, it's leading towards more personal reasons. So I do feel like people do know their why now.
Okay. Michaela?
Yeah, in terms of like people or students and children knowing their why for vaping, I think some probably do it in response to the environment around them, whether it's like stress or anxiety about something. But I also think a lot of students and children that are pubescent and going through a lot of changes probably are experiencing a lot of peer pressure and want to fit in. And so they're doing what their friends are doing, or they're doing what they see in media, which is why it's so important for at a young age to show those younger children, those toddlers, that vaping, and regardless of what is in media, whatever the masses is doing is not necessarily what you need to be doing. So I don't necessarily think they know their why.
Okay, that's a good point. Um, to kind of piggyback on that, I want to ask y'all, what was you all's why? I know Michaela, you said in the beginning, your why you joined the YAP is personal experience and how smoking came, it was in your life. But what is you all's why of why you never picked up vaping or never picked up any type of nicotine product? Like, what was your why? And anybody can go. Go ahead, Layla.
Okay, my why to why I never did any nicotine products was because I feel like it was mostly instilled in my parents. My parents never drunk, like they don't drink. I'm sorry. My parents do not drink. They do not smoke. I have few people in my family, like they're like farther, like they're not close to me, that do smoke or drink, and none of my friends smoke or drink. So it was never something that I feel like I needed to do. And I always had people to talk to. My environment was never to a place that I feel like I had any negativity as though as such as vaping or doing anything illegal. Like I never had that place that I felt like I needed to or that it was gonna make me feel any better doing it. So I just never did. And while I'm older, I look at it now, I'm like, not every kid has this. So this program, I joined it so I can be that voice to say, hey, I don't have this, and I know I don't. I want you to be
Mhm.
in a place that you can be in my position. Other kids can have the same opportunities to not have those other opportunities that make them make those bad decisions and choices. And this program really helps me reach out. I get to talk to other kids every two Tuesdays and get to come together with a very responsible adult and we get to talk about these things that a lot of people are scared to have or it's not a conversation that's really brought to the table as far as a regular conversation about other things.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in?
Um, I agree with a lot of what Layla said. Like, none of my parents, none of my friends, nobody I really know vapes or smokes or drinks or anything like that. And adding on to that, I don't have like access to any of these products. Like, I wouldn't know where to get them anyways. And another thing is that I am a Christian, so I believe that my body is my temple. So I know that like smoking and drinking would just violate that, and that's not what I believe in.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Would anybody else like to share? All right. So we have a question. It says, what does the YAB think about quitting vaping at this age? Is it realistic? So It's also like spin it if it's let's just say a habit that you have if there's a habit that you have because none of y'all vape, but if there's a habit that you have that you may think you might need to stop or it's bad or whatever the case is there a habit that you have that you think you could quit, or do you think that those people that are vaping are able to quit? Is it realistic for youth like you all to be able to quit a habit? Go ahead, Layla.
I feel like with the right mindset and dedication it would be harder, I would say, because I'm gonna say 16. I'll be 16 in like a couple weeks. And say I started vaping as 13 and I've been vaping every day since. And now getting this information, hey, I need to stop and I want to, but I'm addicted. I feel like it's realistic to a certain extent. It depends on that person's mindset because a lot of people, the reason why they get sick because they're not strong enough. It depends on that person. Because of course, every teen mental state and the way they take stuff is different. So it depends if the person's strong-minded enough and have the resources and wants to have the help, and the help is effective, then yes, it is realistic. But if not, and they're just hearing it for one time and they're never gonna hear it again, then no, it isn't. Because it's the habit has been too practiced at this point for it to just wake up one day and quit. Especially with nicotine, that's an addictive substance or thing that you're taking in your body. If the help is not effective and you're not getting which that person personally needs, it's not realistic. But if they have the right equipment and perseverance for that person mindset, it is. It just depends on the student.
All right, Michaela.
Yeah, I 100% believe that quitting is realistic at this age, just because I think one of the remedies for if somebody is vaping or using some type of addicting substance should be reading. Because when you read, you hear about people that have harder lives or are going through greater stressors, and you are able to relate your life and compare your life. And when you see somebody else going through something, you are able to change how you personally act. And I think with reading or having some type of therapy, students are able to envision their lives in a different way. When you're envisioning something, you're able to do something. If you become dedicated to something through, like Layla said, having those resources or through reading or through learning about other things and branching out of the box of the world that you created for yourself within the habit that you have, I think it is 100% realistic to overcome addiction. I think it's similar to when people lose weight or when people quit other harmful habits that they have at younger ages, in their teens. I just overall think it's 100% realistic for somebody to quit if they are willing to have the dedication, are willing to go through all the motions to get to it.
Thank you. All right, Maurice. Oh, you're on mute.
All right. Okay. Rather quitting at this age is realistic. I would say, yeah, it should be because like it's also a complicated question because obviously like with anything, the longer that you do it, the harder it is going to escape it, which is why I believe that it would be more realistic for like a teenager who might be like who have been like started getting addicted to vaping for a little bit more. It'll be more realistic for them to quit than it may be like an adult who has been addicted or it has been like vaping since they were a teen, right? Because teens are have like not only is because how the brain develops, their processing isn't exactly set in stone yet, as well as because they're exposed to much more influences, which is and like their thought like isn't going to be as a concrete as like an adult. As long as those influences, outside influences, are positive, their environment is positive, and they have exactly like what they need or to address whatever issues that may lead to them into vaping or any other addiction like that. it becomes more possible, it becomes more likely that they are going to be able to quit at the age they are.
Oh, you went back on mute.
That was all I had to say. That's what
All right,
I
thank you.
did.
Uh, Okay, so we have another question. It says, in your opinion, what is the likelihood that youth will utilize free cessation quit services? So do y'all think they would use the text or the 1-800 quit now, go to the website? Do y'all think they will use quit services if it was presented to them to quit?
The
I see.
numbers, I don't know how many people call those numbers, but I know in my community, they're not looked as something that will be used. It'll be more of an adult coming person to person. Well, I think that would still be counted as a free service. But like the most one that's more effective is like coming to a person directly one-on-one, having that conversation, and the kid wanting to talk. So if we're talking about like different like ways and strategies to get those services, then yes, I feel like they would use them. But of course, yeah, I feel like they'll use them.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Maurice.
Okay, so the main barrier that comes with this is that like for a teen to be able to for a teen to use the quit services, they have to find a way to actually want to go through that process, and so the likelihood of that depends on how effective vaping education, how how effective, and also like their outside influences like parents or whatever role models they may have. So it this very depends on like for one how like accessible and also how often like how pushed out the resources are, as well as how much like they're able to convince said youth or said teenager, age or said middle schooler, or like the age range of the resources, right? And how effective is said education to get them to actually recognize that something may be wrong, or whoever is influencing them to also realizes that there's something wrong so they can take action for them as well.
Okay, thank you. We have a comment. It says to follow up on Fiamla and Chriselle's question, do you think that you and your parents would benefit from pediatricians being more aware and informed about medically assisted nicotine therapy for teenagers trying to quit vaping? This was something that came up in one of the TFL's vaping town hall. I see your hand, Kennedy. Go ahead.
One word, absolutely.
Mhm.
Every year you have to go to the pediatrician, to go to the doctor, and you visit that pediatrician. And I don't know about any of y'all's pediatrician, but she runs it down. She says blank by blank by blank about the effects of whatever, whatever. And it's an easier way to access everybody because everybody needs to go to the doctor. So I do feel like this would be beneficial.
Layla, I see your hand.
Yeah, I do feel like having pediatricians and therapists like knowing about vaping and to have these programs set up to help with nicotine would be very effective because again, you're not even some pediatricians are not even just in front of the kids. They're in front of the parents also. And they also be able to communicate and have those conversations of what to move forward in your child's best interest. So yes, and of course as Kennedy said, you have to go see those doctors. So it'll be reached out to more kids because there's something that's required of them. Because some shots, like for schools, you have to take. So if those pediatricians can reach out to parents and therapy and things that your child has to get, it would be more effective because they can reach so many kids that probably dodge or don't look at the things that's being given, the resources given to them at school. If they go to a place and they're, I'm gonna quote unquote say trap with their pediatrician and parents, they're most likely gonna be able to listen versus them just hearing something, a person comes speak to them at school and them tuning them out. Like they're gonna be forced to listen to this information. And sometimes that force is good. So yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Anyone else want to chime in? No? All right. Thank you all for the discussion and the questions. I'll now start to go through those resources. So our call to action, short term, we like to let people know that it starts with community sharing the resources, vape policies, educational events. So it could be vape education, it could be prevention for youth and for parents. We also encourage people in communities and schools to participate in Days of Action, which is nationally recognized observing days in the tobacco control and prevention realm, where we have Takedown Tobacco Day, which is April 1st. It was formerly known as Kick Butts Day. We also have World No Tobacco Day, which is March 31st, that just passed. We have Great American Smokeout Day, which is the third Thursday in November. And then we have other health related observances like No Menthol Sunday, which is the I think second or third Sunday in May, and it's usually the Sunday where is talking about the harmful effects of menthol and just how it was targeted against the African American community. So just more days and events that are an example of how we do our work. We have the Louisiana Quit Line services from ages 13 to 17 for our youth. And then, of course, it's for all the adults. You can call 1-800-QUIT NOW. You can go on the web at quitwithusla.org. And then we have our text to quit. And then we have the QR code if you would like to scan it to learn more about the quit services. They have a few sessions. There's telephone support, there's online access, there's texting. There's also equipment, medication that will be sent, and all of these services are free to all Louisiana residents. So anyone can call, anyone can get these services that are ready to quit. Some more takeaways. We have the Tobacco-Free Living, which is the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living, in short, TFL. You can also go to our website to find out more information about a presentation, to find out more about the quit services, find out more about the Youth Advisory Board. Everything is on our Tobacco-Free Living website. We also have a school vape-free toolkit, and it's in partnership with the Louisiana Wellhead Prevention Control, and it's basically a toolkit that just helps the schools with language and ways of of taking away or trying to take away punitive punishments for youth that are caught vaping. So this is kind of that example right here of the student tobacco use and vape policy model language of helping the schools and community-based organizations that deal with youth and just trying to help them quit, and just is different resources to kind of relate to them, to be able to talk to them. It's a topic that is very, I don't know what the word to say, but it's the topic that's not hot, but it's a topic that is out there. That's a lot, and sometimes it's a little hard to how to have that conversation with the youth, but this helps you do that. Here are other partners that the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living works with. We have, again, our website, our school vape-free toolkit, 1-800-QUIT NOW, Ahead Louisiana, that's under the Louisiana Department of Health, the Unfiltered Facts, that is also part of the Ahead program, and then we have Parents Against Vaping, e-cigarettes. That's also another resource that our actual parents that are working across the nation to help youth not vape and helping them quit and then providing them with real resources, real support. Because a lot of times we don't know what this youth are going through. Some youth might not actually have parents or have supportive parents, and this organization really helps with that. And then lastly, connect with us on our social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Again, I am Michelle Oza. I'm the Social Health Disparity Senior Coordinator for the Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living. I'll give it to the Youth Advisory Board members if there's any last things y'all would like to say before we wrap up. I'll give y'all back the floor.
I would like to
Uh,
say thank
oh,
y'all so. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You go first. You go.
Oh, thank you. I would like to say thank y'all so much for y'all questions. I've been on so many Zooms and they would ask the same question. And y'all questions are actually so like important and informative. And thank y'all so much for listening to us and for us to give y'all your insight and for us to learn some stuff too. Thank y'all.
I just wanted to say thank y'all so much, and also thank you so much for being interactive and asking questions. Yeah.
I also wanted to say thank you guys for coming and come back next year, even though I won't be here because I'm going to college. But yeah, come back next year and thank you guys.
So I would like to definitely thank everyone for the participation, asking questions, especially because when creating the outline for this presentation, that was definitely like one of the main priorities or at least being able to have something that is questions and answers, being able to really cast the best way to ensure that like everyone that's participating and watching gets something out of coming here and seeing, getting a piece of what everyone thinks, as well as knowing, just coming out than beforehand.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us today in our discussion. Again, this was our Louisiana Campaign for Tobacco-Free Living's Youth Advisory Board. We encourage you all to answer the survey. We also encourage you to sign up for our newsletter to find out more information about this program with the Youth Advisory Board, and also when next year comes up for if you have any youth that would like to be a part of it for them to apply. So follow our newsletter, follow us on social media as it will be announced there. Y'all all have a great Tuesday. Thank you all for coming. And again, thank you, and please answer the survey.